Okay, so DanDaDan the Evil Eye arc is kind of weird because it's hard to really classify as its own arc. I think the best comparison I can make is kind of like its Post-Enius Lobby from One Piece. So yeah, the story shifts focus a bit, but it's short and more transitional than anything else. The arc mainly focuses on Gigi and his struggle to live as the vessel of the Evil Eye. And Granny mentions that there's a chance he could learn to naturally control it, and later on we see that Gigi actually is kind of a genius when it comes to manipulating his own psychic energy, but for now, the thing that triggers his transformation is cold water, like just a straight up splash of Fiji, and it's over for everyone in the vicinity. And so after almost leveling the entire house while possessed, the crew decides that maybe it's time for an exorcism of the Evil Eye, and honestly, it sets up kind of my favorite gag in this arc, because Psycho calls a group of exorcists, and instead of them being like stoic priests or monks, it's basically a Kiss-themed rock band, and their intro killed me. They just waltz into the Ice household and like, sorry, we're intruding, and then Psycho goes, oh, then don't. And they leave only to come back because that was the house that they were supposed to be at. It's so dumb, and I loved it. It was funny, and it's one of those rare moments where Tatsu's humor just hit for me. But speaking of dumb, Gigi, look, I get that he made a promise to the Evil Eye to play with him, and I respect the empathy, but come on, that thing is way too dangerous to be treating like a sad puppy. Okarun, who was awesome in this arc, does end up finding like a workaround in the end, but the fact that they're even entertaining Gigi's wish not to exorcise him is insane to me. And they even try to paint like Psycho's former apprentice as a heartless guy for wanting to go through with the exorcism, but bro is absolutely right. This thing almost wrecked Momo and would have succeeded if she hadn't had like warm water in her mouth to bring Gigi back to normal, which is the transformation trigger to revert. I'm actually kind of worried about the length of this video though, because truthfully, that more or less wraps up the arc outside of Okarun's training segment. Yukino Utatsu turns this part of the story into more of a single slice of life for each of the rest of the cast members, which was good for some character work, but really there wasn't that much to critique in it. We get a brief but like telling moment where Ira has to deal with the falling out about lying of Momo and facing social ostracization, and there's also a really funny gag where Ira pretends that she doesn't want to move into the Ice household to keep an eye on Gigi because that's what they need them all for, which she genuinely doesn't, but she also knows it's a good excuse to be closer to Okarun, so she agrees, like begrudgingly. And on Momo's side, there's an entire chapter about her working a part-time job because she needs to get a new phone. And aside from a cute moment where like Okarun waits for her to get off work so she doesn't have to walk home alone at night, it's honestly just a lot of fluff, and it's hard to even break down this video into likes and dislikes because there's really not that much that happened for me to dislike. But what I do want to spend the rest of this video talking about is how much I loved Okarun as the male lead of this story. Okarun's growth over these like 60-some chapters has been incredible. Not because he wasn't already like heroic in nature, but because of how he's chosen to wield the strength that he now has. And one of the most striking moments is when he sees Momo being held by the neck, completely helpless against the Evil Eye, because he's not strong enough to like face it head on. And you can see actually just how much that moment changes him, even just through some of the art. Like some of the facial expressions that Tatsu gives Okarun in this arc are genuinely extremely powerful. There's real emotional weight in how he seems to be like processing his own limitations. And now I'll admit that his training arc that he goes through because of it, like with the musicians, feels kind of random. It comes out of nowhere. But I really did like the dialogue between him and Turbo Granny, especially like the exchange about like, do you want to be strong? Or do you want to learn to throw, like, do you want to learn how to throw a punch? Because it's really subtle and dives into something deeper regarding like DanDaDan's power system. It's subtle, but it points to something deeper. Because like fights in DanDaDan aren't just really about raw power. There is some thought and some complexity baked into it, but the thing that really blew me away in this arc are the action panel. Like the Evil Eye is this incredibly powerful spirit who's actively seeking out strong opponents, and Tatsu really went all in on showing off Okarun's new strength post-training arc because the fight looks amazing. Every panel emphasized just how far Okarun's come, and it wasn't just brute force. Okarun used his intelligence to bind the Evil Eye into this non-aggression pact, restricting him to only fight Okarun on a certain day, and that's a clever move, and while it leads to some greater comedic payoff later, in the moment, it felt like something out of like Prime Sasuke just full-on Aura Farming's book. And honestly, I didn't realize how much I missed that energy until I saw it here, where Okarun's just like beating on Gigi, just like outsmarting him, outwitting him. It was really good. and I appreciated that moment for Okarun. But yeah, that's kind of the video. This wasn't exactly the most plot-heavy arc in DanDaDan, and honestly, that ended up feeling like a bit of a letdown after all the chaos and high stakes of the earlier arcs. This one felt like the story hit the brakes a little too hard, and it's not that like nothing happened, but what did happen was mostly like these character-driven slice-of-life beats that didn't really push the plot forward in any meaningful way. Tatsu clearly wanted to give the characters some space to breathe, and I can respect that, but I guess I just didn't want those moments quite yet. Again, this arc wasn't long enough to feel like it dragged, but I read it in bulk, and I imagine having to like read this week to week, and that doesn't sound fun at all. That said, Okarun's arc did manage to anchor things in this arc in like a huge way. His development, both in power and his personality, was the standout for these chapters, and if anything, the quieter tone of the arc just highlights how much he's grown as a person, but I still can't shake the feeling that this whole section could have been half as long and twice as effective. So here's to hoping that the next arc brings back some momentum. Hopefully this video somehow managed to hit the 10-minute mark, because I heard that's actually like helps videos grow in the YouTube algorithm, and as you can imagine, given my view counts and my subscriber numbers, I need all the help I can get. But if you enjoyed this video and want to help support me on this channel, please do not forget to like the video and subscribe. It goes a long way. And you can also follow me on Twitter to help get me popping over there. And lately, I've been streaming a lot on Twitch, playing harder versions of standard Pokemon games, which has been fun. We actually just finished Pokemon Compass, this mod of Pokemon Violet. And currently, as of filming, we've just beaten Milo in this Drayano-inspired difficulty mod of Pokemon Sword called Divine Sword. So if you're interested in any of that, check me out on Twitch and give me a follow over there. But with all of that out of the way, I really wanted to thank you all so much for watching this video until the end. And until next time, peace.